Om Namah Shivaya. Om everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining the Uddhava Gita Vedanta class. Good to have you. Om. So let's begin with a short guided meditation and the chanting of the opening prayers. If you're driving, don't meditate. Don't close your eyes. Otherwise, I invite you to assume a comfortable sitting posture. Close your eyes, rest your hands on your knees or in your lap. Relax the body, relax the breath, relax the mind. And meditate in silence for a few moments. Dive deep, deep within, into the silence. We're going to chant together 3 times the mantra Om and the opening prayers. If you wish to follow along, you can watch the slides. So take a deep breath. Om. 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 Om Gajananam Bhutaganaadisevitam Kapita Jambupala
Parabakshita
Sarvabhakshinam
Om Sut
Shoka Vinashakaranaham Namami Vigneshvara Pada Pankajam Shadananam Kumkumaraktavaranaham Mahamatim Divyāmayuravahanam Rudrasya Sunam Surasainyanathaham Guham Sadaham Sharanam Prapadye Ya Kundendu Tusharahara Davalaha Ya Shubhra Vastravrita Ya Vina Varadanda Mandita Karaha Ya Sveta Padmasana Ya Brahmachuta Shankara Pravritivihir Devai Sada Pujita Samampatu Sarasvati Bhagavati Nishyesha Paha Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachitanandamurtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Shri Shivanandaya Te Namaha Shri Vishnudevanandaya Te Namaha Om Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Savata Sadike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Om Shanti 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 Om Peace 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bonaktu Saviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Peace 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 Om Bolo Sadguru Shivananda Maharaj Ki Jai Om Bolo Swami Vishnu Devananda Maharaj Ki Jai Om Namah Shivaya Om everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining the class on Vedanta and Uddhava Gita. This is class number 6 in our 12 weekly session cycle. So we're about halfway through in this particular cycle, even though we keep going and going and going. So I welcome Krishna, Diego, and his father. Welcome, and hope you are driving safely. Om Om. And Sharda Devi, Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for joining. Nice to see you. Carla Durga, Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for being here. And Ambika Devi, Om Namah Shivaya. Welcome. I see that you will join with your camera a little later. So good to see you. And we are going to just do a short reminder where we are at in our Uddhava Gita text. So we are in the 8th chapter that continues the dialogue between Uddhava and his guru, Lord Krishna. And we reached a section where Krishna tells the story how he appeared as the swan avatar, and gave teachings to Lord Brahma, the creator, and the 4 mental sons of the creator. They're called the Brahma Kumara, the 4 children of Lord Brahma. And where we left off, I will just share my screen and we will chant one more time the 25th verse. Guneshva visate cheto, Guneshva visate cheto, Gunaschetasi cha prajaha, Gunaschetasi cha prajaha, Jivasya deha ubhayam, Jivasya deha ubhayam, Gunascheto madatmanaha, Gunashcheto madatmanaha. Yes, my sons, the mind is attached to the sense object, and the sense object influence the mind. Thus, the sense objects and the mind, both intertwined, form the body of the jiva, who is ever identified with me. So, what the Swan is teaching is that we have a mind, right? And we have 5 senses. Through the 5 senses, we perceive objects, and the objects influence the mind, and the mind get attached to the objects. And this is causing the perpetuation of the ignorance that I perceive myself as a physical body. Therefore, I perceive myself as limited, mortal, imperfect, finite, and therefore there is suffering. And it's all because the mind get attached to objects. And the object influences the mind and reinforces the attachment. And that is strengthening, perpetuating the belief that I am the body. But the reality, the truth is I'm not the body. What am I? Who am I? I'm the Atman, the self. Therefore, Krishna says the jiva, the soul, is really me. He says, is God. The soul is one with God. Tat tvam asi, that thou art. That supreme reality that you worship, you are that. So this is Vedanta. But why we don't know it? Because of avidya, because of spiritual ignorance. So in the commentary, we read that from this verse up to the end of the chapter, the answer to the problem is given. The idea is this: if the mind, which is connected with sense objects as agent and enjoyer, and is variously named as intellect, egoism, and so forth, were the reality of the jiva, then there might not be a dissolution of the connection between the jiva and the sense objects. So what's happening is the jiva, the soul, is falsely identifying with sense objects. And why falsely identifying? Because in reality, the jiva is pure consciousness. But the mind is the problem. The problem, all problems are coming from the mind. Why? Because the mind is connected with the idea that I am the doer of the action and I am the enjoyer of the fruits of the action. Who is teaching the class? I am. Who is raising the hand? I am. So this identification with the activity is making me to be a doer, karta, and also an enjoyer, bhokta. So whatever comes as a result, it's also mine. I'm responsible for the action and I benefit or I experience the results of the action. So karta bhokta, false identification with being a doer and enjoyer. And then also this mind, we know, is consisting of four aspects or four functions. The lower mind, manas, which all it can do is to think and doubt. The lower mind doesn't know anything. The lower mind just asks, what is this? What is this? What is this? Then comes the buddhi, the higher mind, and says, this is a book. This is Sharada Devi. This is a computer. This is a phone. How does the intellect know to determine objects? Because in our subconscious mind, which is called chitta, we have memories of all these objects that we experienced in the past. So then after the mind is doubting what is this, the intellect pulls the memory from the chitta and says, this is a book. Then comes the ego, ahankara, and says, I know the book. Okay, so this is how the four functions of the mind operate. But the most important point to understand is these four aspects of the mind, they're not even real, or they're not the self. The self is not the intellect, is not the subconscious mind, is not the intellect. And the best part of all of this is the self is not even the ego. The self is not even the ego. How do I know this? Because the ego is a vritti, is a thought wave that is known to you. When you are sitting and just thinking, the thought I, that's the ego. And you're aware of the ego. Therefore, you're not the ego. You are the awareness. You are the awareness that is aware of the body, that is aware of the lower mind, the higher mind, the intellect, the subconscious mind, and even the ego. So in summary, we can say even the I is not the real I. So what he says here, the real identity of the jiva is not the mind. I am not the mind. I am not the body. I'm not the intellect like that. This is called neti, negation. Negation. Let me just... okay. So what he says here, the real nature of the jiva is not the mind. Because if the real nature of the jiva was the mind, then we could not attain the dissolution of the connection between the jiva and the sense object, which is exactly what the question was. The question was how to resolve this mutual entanglement between mind and sense objects. Okay, this was the question. Actually, those who ask the questions are really wise people. This is, remember, this was the creator himself, Lord Brahma, and the four Brahma Kumaras, the four mental sons. They are very wise people. They're noticing that we suffer because of this mutual entanglement between mind and sense objects. Let's say I desire chocolate, then I'm obsessed with the chocolate. When I obtain the chocolate and enjoy the chocolate, it reinforces the desires, and it's on and on and on and on. It's just a vicious cycle of mind getting attached to sense objects and being influenced by the sense object and remaining in samsara. So the question that was presented to the swan was how to dissolve this entanglement. And the swan says something very, very important. The way how to dissolve this vicious cycle is not to even worry about the mind and the sense objects, but only to know, but cognitively to know, to realize that you are not the mind, nor are you the sense objects. And that is the ultimate knockout to the problem of this mutual entanglement. So he says the jiva is eternally identified with Brahman, and the apparent connection of the jiva with the sense object is due to what we call superimposition, or in Sanskrit, adhyasa or adhyarupa. So this I have to explain, because if you understand adhyasa or adhyarupa, if you understand the concept, the idea of superimposition, you understand Vedanta. It's really the most important thing to understand. So, because Vedanta says you are the Atman, you are bliss, you are consciousness, you are eternal. And then we ask, yeah, but I don't feel it. I don't feel bliss. I don't feel eternal. In fact, I'm afraid that one day I will die. I will be no more. I don't feel immortal. I don't feel all pervading. So Vedanta says, yes, 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 I know. You don't feel it. Why? Because you have superimposition. Superimposition, it says, of the mind on the there is a superimposition between the real self and the body mind sense complex. Okay, superimposition, to understand superimposition, remember the classical illustration of rope and snake. On the real rope, mistakenly we superimpose a false snake. Okay, on the real self, mistakenly we superimpose body mind sense complex. And vice versa. On the inert object called body mind sense complex, we superimpose consciousness. We think this body has consciousness, this mind has consciousness. No, they're inert. They're inert. They're just a manifestation of the consciousness. So to understand, superimposition is a mutual superimposition. See, Now, why I say that the body, mind, and senses are inert? Some people have a hard time with this. Like, what do you mean inert? I mean, the mind is conscious, no? No. No, the mind borrows consciousness from the self. The mind by itself is an object. Just like the classical example of the moon, right? What do we say? We say, look at this beautiful moonlight. Is there a moonlight? Is there such a thing, moonlight? No, the moon has no light. The moon is not a luminous body. The moon borrows the light from the sun. The moon reflects the light of the sun. It does not have inherent light. So at night, when we look in the sky and we say, look at this beautiful moonlight, we say that, it's fine, but it's not true. It's the light of the sun reflected by the moon. Similarly, the mind is inert. How do I know? Because it's an object. Everything that is an object that I perceive is inert. It's just like these glasses, you know, they're very nice. They allow me to see well. When I put them on, wow, I have nice perception of things. But are they me? No. Are they consciousness? No, it's just an instrument for perception. In the same way, the mind is an instrument of perception. The mind by itself is inert. The reason why we feel that the mind is conscious is because it's a good reflector. Consciousness is everywhere, even in the stone, but the mind is a much better reflector of consciousness. It's like a mirror. So what he says here, he says the jiva is eternally identified with Brahman, and only it has apparent connection with the sense object because of superimposition of mind and self. Hence, by considering oneself as Brahman and reflecting on the unreality of the sense objects, one should turn away from them and worship the Lord, whereby one can remain in one's true nature as the infinite self. So here, this is an important point because here he gives us the sadhana, what we should do. He says, first of all, consider yourself Brahman. Don't consider yourself limited body with problems and mental, physical, emotional, psychological. Om Namah Shivaya, Janaki, thank you for joining.
Om Namah Shivaya. Sorry for being late, Rukminiji.
Om Namah Shivaya. Janaki was just at the ashram for, I don't know, 10 days or so. And I guess you're back home. So welcome back to the class online. And I also welcome Jotin who joined us. Okay, so we are here in this Uddhava Gita book, page number 119, the commentary on verse 25. What we are seeing here is in the very end of this commentary, the sadhana, what we should do. Which he said, consider yourself Brahman. And remember, don't forget, you are not body, you're not mind, you're not senses, none of this. You are pure awareness. That's what you are, pure awareness. And so, what are all these objects? If I am pure awareness, okay, I'm pure awareness, okay? Existence, consciousness, bliss, absolute. I'm the witness, the consciousness. But when I look, I see a universe. What is this? I see so many names and forms. So the next part in the sadhana is to reflect on the unreality of the sense objects. What I'm seeing, everything that you are seeing and experiencing and hearing and tasting and feeling and touching and thinking, all your cognitions, all your experiences, all the objects of this creation, what are they? Maya. What is Maya? Cosmic illusion. What do we mean? Okay, so there is a practice which is called eliminating names and forms. See, take any object, any experience, take this book, okay? I'm experiencing the book. I'm experiencing Krishna. I'm experiencing Sharada Devi. I'm experiencing the wall, the window, the computer. What are all these? Every experience, every object consists of 5 things, according to Vedanta. It has a name, it has a form, and it has existence, consciousness, and bliss. Now, let me explain. Name is very clear. This is a book, right? That's the name. Form, it has a shape, a color, texture. That's the form. It exists. Why? Because we say the book is, the phone is, the computer is, that isness is sat. Sat is reality, existence. It has existence, right? Clearly, every object exists, sat. Then somehow it is revealed, it shines. Because otherwise nobody could perceive. I could not perceive the book if it was not being perceived, meaning consciousness is there. It is like I see the book because there is light in the room. If there is no light, I would not see the book. But when I look at the book, I don't even realize that this is due to the blessing of the light that I experienced the book. I don't even realize that here I have book plus light. I don't notice the light. I only notice the book. But really, it's book plus light, because without the light, you don't perceive any object. So this is the consciousness, okay? And then the bliss. The bliss is an interesting thing, but because every object brings some utility to someone, every object serves a function. So going back, Nama, Rupa, Satchit Ananda. Name, form, existence, consciousness, and bliss. Now, in the meditation that I'm going to teach you now, the meditation is called, in Sanskrit, Abheda Bodhavakya, meaning eliminating names and forms, removing the names and the forms. How do we do this meditation? Any object that you encounter, you are reminding yourself about the 5 aspects. It has a name, it has a form, and existence, consciousness, bliss, Satchitananda. Now, in this meditation, what you do, you remove the name and the form. You look at the book and you remove the name book, you remove the form. What is left? What is left? Satchitananda. You look at Rukmini Chaitanya, you remove the name. Rukmini Chaitanya is a name, but it's changing all the time. I mean, before that it was just Rukmini, and before that it was my birth name, and hopefully one day it will change to another name. So the point is, name is changing. Form, I tell you, this form was not like this 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It was different. I show you a picture of me 3 years old and now, you will not recognize. So form is changing, name is changing. Therefore, you can discard them. You can eliminate them. Whatever is changing is unreal, according to Vedanta. That which is unchanging is real. That which is constantly changing is unreal. So based on this definition, name is unreal. Form is unreal. What is left? What is real? Existence is always there. See, the fact that you exist, you cannot deny. You cannot deny it. It's self-evident. Yeah, some people say, I say I don't agree. I don't exist. Some people say like that. Then the teacher answer, who just said that? And there is no way around it. You just said that, so how you say I don't exist? So that's like an inner contradiction. And then consciousness. Some people also try to be smart and they say, I don't have consciousness. And the teacher would answer, how do you know? What you just said, how do you know? Because you have consciousness. So existence is obvious, and it's always, it's constant, it's permanent. It's not changing like the names and the forms. Existence is the nature of reality. Consciousness is the nature of reality. And now the bliss, the bliss is the part that people are, having a hard time to understand. But the bliss is because that existence, consciousness, reality is unlimited. The existence is infinite. It's not forms has limited finite existence. Like this book, one day it will have to decompose. It's made of physical elements. Existence is eternal. And that nature of that existence is consciousness, awareness, which is also eternal. And they are not two things. It's not here is existence, here is consciousness. It's the same thing. Existence, consciousness, continuum, unlimited, all-pervading, unlimited. That's the unlimitlessness of the existence consciousness. That is the bliss. That is the bliss, because all of our pain and suffering comes from a sense of limitation. I'm limited. I want to be elsewhere. I want to be someone else. I want to something different. But if you are unlimited, where is the pain? Where is this sadness? You are the reality, and that reality is eternal consciousness. That is the bliss. So you have to be able to look at objects, any object, people, animals, trees, houses, books, and even experiences like feelings, emotions, any experience, any object. Remove the name. The name is not substantial. It's just a label, and it's changing all the time. Remove the label. Remove the form. The form is constantly changing. I already told you. I was not looking like this in the age of 3. Remove the form. It's not substantial. What is truly there is Satchitananda. So what is the sadhana that we are giving here? Consider yourself Brahman, Satchitananda. Reflect on the object and see that they're not real. The names and the forms are not real. And then turn away from the objects. Turn away from the object and go where? Go where? Where shall I go? If all my life I was just interested in object, where shall I go? He said, worship the Lord. Who is the Lord? That's Satchit Ananda, dwelling in your heart and in all the objects as their essence. Worship that, not the name. Don't worship the name. Don't worship the form. Worship the Satchitananda, Satchitananda in your heart, Satchitananda in the book, in the people, in the animals, in the universe, in all the galaxies, in all the emotions, in all the thoughts, in all the past, present, and future, all planes of existence is just Sat Chit Ananda. Turn away from your obsession with names and forms. Just focus on the essence. This is the sadhana. And you can see the whole Vedanta philosophy is here in one sentence. Consider yourself Brahman, Satchitananda, and consider the objects to be Satchitananda. And then there is only Satchitananda. You see how Vedanta is just a shift in perspective? What I mean Mom. Okay, it looks like we're back. As I was getting excited about the waves. Anyway, you can see the waves behind me also. But okay, we are recording and I'm on the spotlight, so we can continue. Okay, Mom. So, what I'm saying is, I'm trying to say that Vedanta is a shift in perspective. Meaning, if we're looking at the waves and we're just not even noticing that this is water, and we're just being fixated about size of the wave and color of the wave and shape and the movement of the waves, and we forget the substance is water. And why the substance is so important? Because without the substance, there are no waves. Can you see that? Without water, there is no wave. If you remove the water, you have nothing. So in Raja Yoga, what we're trying to do is to make all the waves to subside, right? Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Yoga is the suspension of the vrittis. If you suspend the vrittis and you're in samadhi, in the Raja Yoga samadhi, then there are no vrittis. If there are no vrittis, there are no objects. But in Vedanta, it's a little different. You don't need to make the wave to subside. You don't need to make the vrittis to subside, but you need to look at vrittis and objects and experiences and see in them the Satchitananda. Like you're looking at the ocean, and even if the waves are very big, but it doesn't matter because you are focused on the water. As the waves are whatever, they let the waves do whatever they want to do, but my focus is on the water. And can you see how the water is something which is unchanging? In this illustration, of course, it's just an illustration. But relatively to the waves, the water is unchanging. The water is eternal. The water is not coming and going. The water is homogeneous essence, all pervading. In this illustration, in the same way, now leave the illustration and come back to what is being illustrated. All the phenomena in essence is Satchitananda. And what are you in essence is Satchitananda. And this is the way to discontinue the entanglement of the mind with the object, with samsara, desires, raga, dvesha. The way how to get rid of all of this pain and suffering and samsara and likes and dislikes is to focus on the one essence. That is you, the self, and that is the essence of everything. It's just a shift in perspective. No need to go to a cave. No need to sit cross-legged and suspend all the way. Of course, Raja Yoga Samadhi is a preparation for Vedanta, no doubt. Why? Because to understand what I just said, we need a very subtle mind. Very pure, one-pointed, subtle mind. That's why samadhi is a prerequisite for jnana yoga. But assuming the yogi is already established in samadhi, and assuming the yogi is already an advanced practitioner of jnana yoga, for such a yogi, it doesn't matter if there are objects or not. For such a yogi, a jnani, it doesn't matter if they are in the cave or in the downtown Manhattan. It doesn't matter if the mind is in samadhi with no vrittis or there are many vrittis, because they don't identify with the vrittis. And even if there are vrittis, they know that the essence of every vritti is consciousness. But there is a difference, because the vrittis come and go, come and go, come and go, come and go. But the consciousness is constant. So that's why the swan, right now we're learning from the swan. The swan is called Hamsa in Sanskrit. Hamsa Avatara. Avatar is the divine incarnation of Lord Vishnu in the form of a swan. And do you remember why swan? What is unique about the swan? You remember?
The
Janaki?
the swan can separate milk from the water?
Exactly. At least that's what they say in our tradition. The swan has the skill with its beak. It can separate the milk from the water. Milk and water are mixed together, and the swan can separate them. In the same way, every vritti, every cognition in the mind is mixed with consciousness. And the jnana yoga sadhana is to separate the consciousness from the vritti. And to know that in every vritti there is the consciousness, there is Brahman, Satchit Ananda Brahman, Atman, the self, the awareness is there mixed with every vritti. And our practice is to be able to discern, to separate. It's very difficult. See, I can give you one example for me, it works really well, this illustration. There is a movie projected on a screen. So here is the screen, and then on the screen, there are people talking and fighting, and then there is a fire, and then there is a flood, and there are trees, and there are animals. And now, every object in the movie, really, the object is there, but also the screen, right? Without the screen, the whole thing is not there. So in the same way, in every cognition in the mind, in every vritti, there is the vritti, but also the consciousness. Just like the screen allows the movie to be. It is due to the presence of the screen. It is due to the blessing of the screen that the movie is possible. Not just the movie in general, but every cowboy in the movie, every finger, every atom, every molecule in the movie exists due to the presence of the screen. But can you separate the cowboy from the screen? Physically, you cannot. There is no distance between the cowboy and the screen. You cannot put the cowboy here and the screen here. You cannot do this. Physically, there is no distance between them. But cognitively, you can tell that they are not the same, they are distinct. The cowboy is illusory, the screen is real. The cowboy and the other object, they're constantly changing, the screen is unchanging. One day the movie will finish, the screen will remain. Can you see that? So now take this illustration to our case. In every cognition in the mind, there is a mixture of consciousness and the vritti. The vritti is a thought form. The thought is inert. It's inert. Without consciousness, it does not exist. So the amazing thing is that any vritti, it doesn't have to be a sattvic vritti, even rajasic vritti, tamasic vrittis, even in our fears and anxieties and depression and anger, even in all these negative vrittis, consciousness is there. And all you need to do is to see that. So for me, this particular teaching was a lifesaver. In one occasion that my mind was just getting really, really stressed out because of a very stressful circumstances. And I didn't know what to do. I could see my mind was like, ah. And then I remembered these teachings. And I said, even in these stressful, crazy vrittis in the mind, right now, consciousness, Brahman is there. Isn't it amazing? Because I love Brahman and is there. Brahman is there in every crazy vritti. Now, the other thing that you have to do is one more step you have to take. That amazing Brahman, that amazing pure consciousness, eternal existence, bliss that exists in every vritti is you. Is you. And some people, they cannot take it. They say, me? Me? Yes. Yes. That's Vedanta. That is you, the self. This is the teaching from the Hamsa, from the swan. So what he says, hence, considering oneself as Brahman and reflecting on the unreality of the sense objects, one should turn away from them and worship the Lord. So because of this viveka, the capacity to discern between consciousness and the mind, and the capacity to discern between the objects that are ephemeral, transitory, and constantly changing, as versus the Atman, the self, which is eternal. Therefore, the natural conclusion, logical conclusion, let me turn away from the objects and go to the Atman. Yeah, there is one great saint, I think it was Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, who said, if you want to go east, turn away from the west. The more you go far away from the west, you go closer to the east. Turn away from the objects and go to the Atman. Worship the Lord. Worship the Lord is go to the Atman, whereby one can remain in one's true nature as the infinite self. Turn away from the chocolate and the pleasures and this and that people and go to the Atman. Here you can remain in your own true nature as the infinite self. And that infinite self is the self of all. It's not just yourself. It's the self of all. So then the jnani asserts, all are in me and I am in the all. This is the realization of the jnani, to be able to see myself in all beings and all beings in me. And finally, he says the body, there is a footnote here that relates to a superimposition, not the reality about him. And this is just to explain why the verse said that the sense objects and the mind form the body. They form the body because of superimposition. Okay, so this is the end of verse number 25. Any question? Okay, so let us chant the next verse. Oh. Okay. Guneshu cha visakchitam, Guneshu cha visakchitam, Abhikshnam guna sevaya, Abhikshnam guna sevaya, Gunascha chita prabhava, Gunascha chita prabhava, Madrupa ubhayam tyajet, Madrupa ubhayam tyajet. The mind, which through constant dwelling on sense objects is attached to them, and the sense object which influence the mind, one should give up both these, being identified with me. This verse actually is quite similar to the previous one, and there is not much commentary here. there is only one small commentary where he says, the mind which through constant dwelling on sense object is attached to them, and the sense object which influence the mind. So the word influence refers to desire, meaning the sense object, the attachment to the sense object causes desire. Therefore, one should give up both the mind and the sense objects and identify with me. Me is the Lord, is Krishna, the self. So we mentioned this already, but there is a famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter, 2 verses, I think it's 62 and 63, where Krishna is telling Arjuna, when a man thinks of the objects, attachment to them arises. From attachment, desire is born. From desire, anger arises. From anger comes delusion. From delusion, loss of memory. From loss of memory, the destruction of discrimination. From the destruction of discrimination, he perishes. Very clean, clear explanation. First thing, we think about object. The mind is obsessed with objects. Why? Because the mind doesn't know anything else. The mind doesn't know the self. It's like, again, if you're in the movie theater, what happens is you look at the movie and you're so caught up in the story that you don't even notice there is a screen there, right? I told you the story about the little boy. I told you the story, no? How the father was driving his boy to the movie theater, and the boy never been to a movie theater before. So in the way, while they were driving, the boy asked, "Father, what is movie? I don't know what is movie. Tell me." So the father said, "Yes, the movie is you go and you sit, and in front of you there is a screen, and on the screen they are projecting a story, and it's very nice." So then they came to the movie theater, and they were a little late. So they entered the hall, and it was dark, and they sat, and the movie already started. Which, by the way, is an important point for us to know that we come here, the movie already started. But anyway, the boy is very fascinated by the story. There is a cowboy and there is a I don't know, a horse, and there is fighting. And then at some point, the boy is turning to his father and he says, "Father, when we were driving in the car, you mentioned something about the screen. What is screen? Where is the screen?" And the father said, "Right there in front of you." And the boy said, "You mean the cowboy?" He said, No, behind." He said, "Ah, you mean the horse?" No, behind." He says, "You mean the house?" "No, behind." "Ah, the mountain." "No, behind all of this is none of this." "And the screen is nothing?" Is nothing?" "No, it's everything." "Oh, it's nothing and it's everything?" I don't understand. That's our problem. Brahman is everything. Brahman is in everything. Brahman is none of these things, but is behind. And we cannot see Brahman. Like that boy. Now, what is Raja Yoga? Raja Yoga Samadhi, Patanjali, is to turn off the projector. No more movie. No more movie? Ah, now we see the screen. But Vedanta, the path of Jnana Yoga, you don't need to turn off the projector. Let the movie run. Just please look, understand this, what is the screen. It's a cognitive thing. Shift your perspective. As the movie is still going, you can still recognize it's an illusion. There is a screen that is the reality. You understand the difference between samadhi, which is shut off this turn off the projector, versus cognitive meditation, analytical meditation. Okay, so what I just quoted is from the Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, how the first thing is our obsession with objects due to not seeing Brahman, due to not experiencing or knowing Brahman. So we are obsessed with objects, but this constant thinking about objects creates attachment, because we start to develop the belief that happiness is in the objects. Why? Because I'm here for happiness. And I don't know Brahman. I've never seen Brahman. I don't know what it is. So I'm looking for my happiness in the object because that's all I know. And so you start to get attached to object. Attachment means that your happiness depends on the chocolate or the ice cream or the people or the job or whatever. So happiness is what I'm seeking, therefore I get attached. This attachment naturally leads to desire. If my happiness is in the chocolate, then I desire chocolate. Okay, so you can see the logical chain of events, right? Thinking, attachment, then desire. Now, the next link in the chain is desire leads to anger. Why? Because most of our desires cannot be fulfilled. So we get angry at whatever or whoever we perceive to be the one which is standing between me and fulfilling my desire. Right? Let's say I am sitting here in my room. The boutique is just not far. I smell the chocolate chip cookie that they're making there, baking there. And I'm thinking, I'm going to end the class a little early today and run to the boutique before they close. And then at 4:25, I'm saying, let's do the final prayers. And then someone here is saying, Rukmini, but I have a question. I didn't understand about Brahman Sachitananda. And I'm like, why? Because this thing stands between me and my desired object, the chocolate chip cookie. So whatever stands between you and your desired object, which you cannot fulfill, that is what you are turning your anger at. Okay? Of course, it's just a joke. You can ask me any question. Okay, but it's just to demonstrate. Or if I want a promotion in my job and someone else gets it, again, anger. Whatever you desire and you cannot fulfill, anger. So from thoughts, we get attachment, from attachment, desire, from desire, anger. Then he says from anger comes delusion, because Swami Shivananda explains very nicely, anger is a violent emotion. It shakes the whole system and we cannot think straight. The capacity to use reason and logic is much reduced due to anger, which is shaking our entire system. From delusion, loss of memory. The person is losing all that he or she learned in the spiritual path. They forget about yama, niyama, morality, ethics, meditation, dharma. They forget. And from this loss of memory, the destruction of discrimination. They are not even discriminating between good and bad. And they may do terrible things. Adi Shankaracharya says the person may even offend their guru, which is negative karma. And because of that, he perishes spiritually. What does it mean to perish spiritually? To remain in samsara, in the cycle of birth and death. Okay, so this all starts from thinking about the object. And this is what our verse is saying here. The mind is constantly dwelling on the sense object. It gets attached to them, and the sense object generate desires in the mind. Therefore, what is the solution? Here he says the solution is renunciation of both. Give up the mind and give up the sense objects. Now, we cannot just give up and be left with nothing. It's not possible. I need to rest on something. I need to feel my securities somewhere. Don't just tell me renounce and am I going to be like in the sky, like without any support? So let go of the mind, let go of the sense object and go to the Atman. That is the solution. Okay? That is the solution. And that does not require us to go to a cave or to make big changes with our life. It's mostly a shift of consciousness. Okay, end of verse 26. Nice to see you, Ambika Devi, Omom, and welcome to Pragati Nina. Thank you for joining. So we will, any questions so far? Comments? Okay, so we will chant the next verse. Jagrat svapna shushuptam cha. Jagrat svapna shushuptam cha. Gunato buddhivrittayaha. Gunato buddhivrittayaha. Tasam vilakshano jivaha. Tasam vilakshano jivaha. Sakshitvena vinishchitaha. Sakshitvena vinishchitaha. Wakefulness, dream, and profound sleep are attributes of the intellect being due to the gunas. The self is distinct from them since it is conclusively proved to be their witness. So just look at the Sanskrit for a moment. Jagrat means the wakeful state. Wakeful state is right now when we are awake. Hopefully you are all awake. This is called Jagrat. Swapna is when you go to sleep, but you are not in deep sleep, but rather you are dreaming. In the dream, this is called Swapna state. And Sushupti is deep sleep. So now, see, in Vedanta, there are different methodologies that are all meant for us to land on the Atman. Atman, you cannot directly define, describe, reach, attain, because you are the Atman. So the only way how Vedanta takes you to the Atman that you already are is by using these special methodologies. The one methodology which we have seen before is called Drigdrishya Viveka, is to discern between subject and object, right? If I perceive this phone, then this phone is an object, I'm the subject. But subject and object cannot be the same one, okay? So this is the object, therefore I'm not the phone because I perceive the phone. Then if you look at your body, clearly you perceive the body, you know the body, you experience the body, you can describe the body, you see the body, therefore you are not the body. Drishya Viveka. This is the methodology. The next step, you go to the mind. Mind is a little more tricky, but if you observe closely, you will notice that the mind consists of vrittis, thoughts, and the thoughts are known to you. You observe the thoughts, you perceive the thoughts, you know the thought is rising, existing, subsiding, and another thought arise. And this bundle of thoughts, emotions, sensations, memories, and cognition, this is what we call mind. But the mind is known to me, therefore I am not the mind. So this is called Drigdrishya Viveka. The next methodology that is now in the verse we just read is Avasta Traya. Avasta means state of consciousness. Traya means three. So we have three states of the mind, basically. Three states of the mind. Either we're awake, in which case we are fully participating in the world and experiencing the physical reality. We see forms and colors, people and trees, we hear sounds, etc. This is wakefulness, Jagrat. Then another state of consciousness happens in the night when the body, the physical body, is not participating, is lying in the bed. But the mind is experiencing the dream universe. So let's say in your dream, you just go to the airport in your dream and you check into your flight to Nassau, Bahamas in your dream. And The flight is going pretty well in your dream. Then you land at the Nassau International Airport. And in your dream, you take a taxi. You tell the taxi driver, take me to the yoga retreat. Now the taxi driver takes you to the dock, and the boatman picks you up and takes you to the ashram, and you go to reception. You get your keys to your room. You put your luggage, and you go straight to the ocean, and you swim in the water. I see you like the dream. It's a nice one. You swim in the water. Then you go and take a nice yoga class and nice dinner. Then you wake up in your bed in Colombia or in the US or Canada. So what's happening? The body is not participating in this swapna state of consciousness, but the mind is very active. And we are basically in the astral universe. So this is another state of consciousness. And then there is the deep sleep, where the body is not participating. There is no identification with the body. It's just flat on the bed. But the mind is also not there in deep sleep, which is a very interesting state of consciousness, because the body is not there, the mind is not there, but somehow you are there. How do we know? Because when you wake up from deep sleep, you have a memory. You say, I slept so well, I knew nothing. What is the memory? Only the memory, you can retrieve it only in the wakeful state. While you're in deep sleep, you don't know anything. You don't say, I'm in deep sleep. If you say, you're not in deep sleep. So while in deep sleep, you cannot say anything. But upon waking up, there is a memory. I slept so well, I knew nothing. The slept well is because of the bliss that you were in close proximity to the Atman, because the body was not in the picture and the mind was not in the picture. There was no identification with the body and the mind, and there is proximity to the bliss of the self. Not really the bliss of the self, but proximity. That's why you say, I slept so well. But at the same time, you say, I knew nothing. Why? Because deep sleep is complete ignorance. There is no knowledge in deep sleep. There's no awareness. So these are the three states of consciousness that all of us go through in the 24 hours of the day. Some hours we're awake, other we're dreaming, other we're in deep sleep, and that's it. These are the three states. They alternate. From wakefulness, you go into deep sleep, then you're dreaming, then back to deep sleep, then another dream, and then you wake up, and like that. Okay? This is the fluctuation of the three states of consciousness, avastatreya. Now, what the verse says, wakefulness, dream, and profound sleep are attributes of the intellect or the mind. They don't belong to the Atman. Who is awake? Who is in dream? Who is in deep sleep? The Atman? The Atman is never sleeping, I tell you. The Atman is always there, always aware, always. Even in deep sleep, Atman is aware. That's why when you wake up, you say, I slept so well, I knew nothing. The mind was not there. The ego was not there, but you were there. So, see, Atman is unchanging. How can you say the Atman is alternating between deep sleep, wakefulness, and dream? How can you say such a thing about the Atman, which is the constant, unchanging, homogeneous, eternal, immortal reality? You cannot say it's changing between the three different states. There are no three different states for the Atman. These are three different states for the mind. So he says, and why so? Being due to the gunas. And the commentator said the gunas are sattva, rajas, and tamas, respectively. In sattva, in deep sleep, there is more predominance of tamas. And according to the commentator, it seems like in dream, there is more predominant of rajas, and in wakefulness of sattva. But this we need to clarify. And then he says, because of the gunas, we alternate between the three states. However, the self with big S, which is the Atman, is distinct from them, since it is conclusively proved to be their witness. Witness, commentator says, as the eternal subject. While you are awake, do you know, are you aware that you are awake? That awareness is the Atman. When you're dreaming, some people are aware that they're dreaming. The awareness is there for sure. And that awareness is the Atman. And even in deep sleep, awareness is there. So the Atman is none of these three states. It is distinct from the three states. Therefore, oftentimes, the Atman is called the fourth. In Sanskrit, Turiya. Turiya, T-U-R-I-Y-A, Turiya. I see Krishna nodding because he took ATTC just a couple of months ago, so the memory is still there. But Turiya is another name for the consciousness, the Atman. Literally, it means the fourth. But it's not really a fourth state. It's not a state like the other three states. That is the witness of all three states, which is unchanging. As the mind is transitioning between one state to another, the Atman is constant. There is something constant as the mind is transitioning from one state to another. So this is a profound Vedantic methodology, the Avastatraya. And maybe I should add that just like I am the waker, the individual waker in the wakeful state, there is what we call the cosmic waker. The cosmic waker is the one who is basically the entire physical universe, the Virat, the cosmic physical universe, the totality of all waking consciousnesses, you can say, of all wakers, is the cosmic waker known as the Virat. Then, just like the individual is in a dream state, actually, the Sanskrit terminology is a little bit, let me try and show you a little presentation. Okay. No, it's a little bit confusing. What I'm trying to say is that just as there is the individual waker, dreamer, and sleeper, there is also the cosmic waker, dreamer, and sleeper. And this corresponds to the mantra Om. The A, remember Om consists of three letters, A, Uma. The A represents the wakeful state. U represent the dream state. And Ma represent the deep sleep state. And after pronouncing the Om, it's not Aum, it's Om. After the nasal sound, there is silence. And that silence is the Turiya, is the Atman, the witness, the consciousness that is distinct from all three states. And by meditation on the mantra Om, we can reach that Turiya, that silence. Okay? By contemplation on the mantra Om. So this is a little bit outside of our topic today, but I'm saying this in connection with the 27 verse, sorry. So now we will chant verse number 28. Any questions? Yes, Ambika, Devi?
Just back to Toria for a moment, please. I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. It is a concept I am aware of and clear with. However, the way you just described it in conjunction or relationship to the 27th verse, the silence and also the sound om. This is what I just would like a little more clarification on, because for the way I've understood it is the om sound, actually, we can, if we want to get really analytical, see it as different sounds and shapings of the vowels of ah, oo, and then there's also a way to internalize that not necessarily a fourth sound, but if we're using the voice as a yoga practitioner, we could. And then the silence after, the space is Toriya. But how did you just describe it? Because you were saying Om and not necessarily how I understand it. So could you please go back
Sure.
over that again?
Yes, of course. So the mantra Om stands for two different understandings of the supreme reality. Om is the name of Ishvara, God. God is the totality of everything that exists. And so everything that exists can be reduced to the mantra Om, and that is Ishvara, God. And in our practice of Bhakti Yoga and Raja Yoga, but specifically Bhakti Yoga, when we are meditating on God, we can use the mantra Om to literally to meditate, concentrate on Ishvara, because Om is the name of God, is the name of Ishvara. Is one syllable that consists of everything. Everything is Om. Everything is a vibration Om. So you can take your japa mala with the 108 beads and just do Om japa. Roll the beads and repeat Om, 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 Om. This is Raja Yoga. This is Bhakti Yoga. Okay. Now, in Vedanta, in Jnana Yoga, there is a special meditation on the mantra Om, but it is not japa. It is not just repeat Om, Om, Om like japa. Rather, it is analytical contemplation. Reducing this physical body, the wakeful state physical body, into the cosmic universe, physical universe. And that all is being reduced to the sound ah. Then this individual astral body, which is what I experience in my dream state, merging is the word, merging it in the cosmic dreamer, Hiranyagarbha, the mind, the cosmic mind, the astral universe. And that is in turn merged into U. And then this individual causal body, which I experience in my deep sleep, merge it in the cosmic causal body, which is Maya, the power of God, Ishvara, the Antaryamin, and that you merge in the sound Ma. Now, by merging all, these are the three worlds: physical, astral, and causal. That's it. There's nothing beyond. There is, but the universe is this physical, astral, and causal. And all of this is represented by Om. And then there is the silence that is the transcendental state beyond the physical, astral, and causal. That which is not the physical, not the astral, and not the causal universe or body, that is Atman, Turiya, the self, Brahman, consciousness. So like this, you use the mantra Om for not like japa with the japa mala Om, 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 but for Vedantic analytical contemplation. It's called Omkara Laya Chintana. Omkara is the sound Om. Laya is dissolution. Chintana is meditation. We use the meditation on the mantra Om to dissolve everything into consciousness. The physical, the astral, the causal, on the individual level, as well as on the cosmic level. Everything is dissolved. The three universes and the individual level, as well as the cosmic level, everything you dissolve cognitively, not by putting it in some kind of a lab and using solution to dissolve, not this kind of dissolution, cognitive dissolution of the whole universe into consciousness by using the mantra Om. Okay?
Fabulous. Now I have a request.
Okay.
Make a class just on Omkara for us, please. I will definitely take that one.
I can do that. Yeah,
I
have
think it would be in addition to this class. I think it would be such a great class, and I would jam my schedule with an extra class a week for that. Thank you.
I
Thank
would
you for that beautiful explanation, but I would love a multi-week course on this, just Omkara.
let me make a note. I'll think about it.
Tell Swamiji it's me who requested it, please.
Mhm. Okay, so I think we finished the verse 27, and looking at the time, it looks like a good place to pause and to do the final prayers, and then we will meet again next week. Any questions?
If you want to put any more into Toria, I'm open, but I think someone else had a question. Forgive me if I butted in.
Anyone had a question?
I was just seconding the Om class, Omkara class. I would love it. I would love it.
Okay, let me think about it and get back to you. But thank you for the request. Okay, I will share my screen and we will do the final prayers. Just a reminder that this coming Sunday, June 21st, is International Day of Yoga. For this occasion, I'm doing a special webinar at 11 o'clock on mantra yoga, japa yoga, the yoga of sound, the yoga of meditation with mantras. So you're most welcome to join me at 11. There is also a special yoga class with Swami Paramananda in the morning in honor of the International Day of Yoga. I think it's at 8 or 8:30. So it's a good way. It's a Sunday. It happens to be a Sunday. It's also what you call the summer solstice, June 21st, and International Yoga Day. And it happens to be a Sunday, so hopefully you can dedicate it to some good sadhana, yogic sadhana. Okay, let me share my screen. And we will chant the final prayers. Om, Om, Om. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandanan Mrityor Mukshyamamritat Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandanan Mrityor Mukshyamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivadanam Urvarukamiva Bandanan Mrityor Mukshyamamritat Om Sarvesham Svastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Punam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve bhavantu sukhinat, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dugabhag bhavet, asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace Peace Peace. Om Bolo Sadguru Shivananda Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Bolo Swami Vishnu Devananda Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you very much. By the way, if you know anyone who would be interested in TTC, please send them to us. In 2 weeks, we start the July TTC, 2.5 weeks. There is a big, big, big promotion. We need more students. There is a big discount, and they're all staying in rooms, no tents. So send them our way, please. We need more July TTC students. Thank you. Om Om. Take care. Om Namah Shivaya.